8:31. We're going to start the meeting. And Mr. Butler, will you do the invocation?
Happy to. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lord, we come to you today in humble thanks for all that you've given us. We thank you for this agency. We thank you for the employees of this agency. We thank you for the members of the public that come before us, those that are here to protect us. Lord, we want to give thanks for seeing that we arrive here safely from all different parts of the state at all different times of travel. And we ask for your hand as we adjudicate the cases before us today, as we make the rules today. Lord, we give you thanks for all that you do, for letting us breathe the free air of freedom here in Texas. We ask you to help us create an environment in this state where businesses can prosper, where families can feed themselves, take care of their kids, and save a little bit. And we ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner. Roll call.
Commissioner Sujeet Rutherford. Commissioner Lori Hine.
Present.
Commissioner Nora Castañeda. Commissioner Gary Wesson.
Here.
Commissioner Ray Callis.
Here.
Vice Chair Tom Butler.
Here.
Chairman Rick Figueroa.
Here. All right. We have a quorum. Thank you. I take a motion to accept the absence.
I so move.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Christine, do we have it?
No, sir.
All right, no public comment. And then we're just going to go right to executive session. Are you good, Dell? Are you good with that?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Sharon is supposed to be here. Della Lindquist, interim general counsel, and I have the recorder for the personnel part of the executive session. There's the legal advice part, and then there's a personnel matter, and you're going to need to record that.
Right. Is Sharon here?
I haven't seen her.
We'll check on it. We'll check on it.
Okay, I'll give you the recorder.
Okay. Okay. You want to bypass this, Mike, or you don't want to wait for her?
If you give us a couple of minutes, let me see if I can find her.
Roger that. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and go to item F. We'll give it a couple minutes. And minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes. Make a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I got a question, Chair.
Yes, sir.
I thought on the meeting minutes, when we talked about it, all the appointments are subject to May of 2024. I didn't see in the meeting minutes. Is there something we got to exclude that? Because by statute, 2024 is the cutoff date.
Say that again. I want to make sure I understand your question.
He's speaking about the advisory committees.
On the advisory
Yes.
committee, appointments what we made and the reappointments.
Right.
They extend only to 2024.
Yes.
And
Well,
I
I see.
didn't, and the agenda item shows to 25, 27, and 29. And the meeting minutes, at that time, I asked a question right there. Assuming that all these appointments and reappointments are till May of 2024.
They are.
I didn't see in the meeting minutes.
Let me.
And you're asking about the, I'm sorry, Mike Harris-Smith is the executive director, and you're asking about the appointments for the advisory boards?
That's correct.
Yeah, we haven't included those, the dates before. They're staggered out in order to ensure that we have continuity throughout the advisory boards. The 24 date is just, no, most of the time they're on odd numbers, but there are some I think may fall in there. But we can get you a list of all those that expire and when they expire for each advisory boards. It take a little bit to get it put together for you, but we can give you a list of all those.
Right, that's not the question. The question here is, if we make an appointment, statute says till 2024. I think the current list of what it is, they all say
Okay, I know what
till
you're saying.
2024.
So if it does cut off, then those, when you brought that question up, those advisory will exist after that. Yes, they will.
That's correct.
It's
Yeah.
correct, right. But we don't know that. It's still pending. So until that happens, we're going to continue to appoint.
No, I'm not disputing that one. I'm saying that do we need to record that in the meeting minutes?
Yeah, we have two. If
Okay,
you allow
you're
me.
talking about the question you asked.
Yeah.
It's not in the meeting.
That's correct.
Okay, just to make a motion to amend it with that question.
I will.
All right, I got you.
If it's
I got you.
okay, I think what you're addressing, Mike, is the actual dates and stuff like that. What Sajith is saying, that the issue was brought up at the last meeting, but it wasn't addressed in the minutes. So I'd like to make a motion. Sajith, would you please kind of help me fill it out? I'd like to make a motion that we amend the minutes to include the discussion of the sunsetting of the advisory committees on May 2024. Is that okay?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'd like to make that motion.
Right.
Second.
So you're making, you're approving the minutes, that amending with that motion.
Correct.
That amendment.
Right. There's a second that. All in favor, say aye. Yes, sir.
Yeah, real quickly, the dates that are located on the minutes are for the expiration of the chairs, the
Correct.
presiding officers.
Correct. He just wants to know that, make the note that that question was asked during the meeting.
Okay.
But
That's
there
all
was
he
a
wants.
discussion.
So
Okay, so
he's
that's
not,
just the
he's not, yeah,
question
he just
itself.
wants that he brought that question up, and it was to be noted in the minutes. That's all he wants.
That's all.
Yeah, we can.
Is that correct, Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay. So the amendments, hang on, everybody, stand down here. We got a motion, we got a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right. Did you check to see if,
Yes.
Sheriff's here, she's coming in from the parking lot.
wonderful, okay. So, we will now go into executive session to consult with our attorney under section 551.071, section 1, and 551.071, section 2, and 551.01074, government code. The time is 8:37. After the executive session, we'll take a break and we'll come back here. Let's give ourselves a 9:05. That gives us 30 minutes. And pick up in action, any executive items. Thanks. Time is 9:42. We're going a little longer. Apologize. We're back in session. There are no action items needed on the executive session as far as item E. Commissioners, we're going to go with contested cases. Item G. We do have one, so if you want to hear in person for a case today, we'll call upon you and your case will be announced. We'll hear from the prosecutor first, then you. If you have opportunity to speak, make sure you speak clearly, say your name and who you represent. Each side will have 5 minutes to speak and up to 3 minutes for a rebuttal if needed. Please understand the commission can only hear information that was in the record from when the case was heard at SOA, so you must limit your comments to those that were presented at the SOA hearing. I don't think, is anybody here?
No, Chairman, and just to recognize that she did ask for a continuance, so before we go any further, I would like for you to make a motion and
Okay.
rule on that.
Is there a motion for that? No motion. Okay, all right, commissioners. So,
So her motion is
it's been denied.
denied.
Yes. All right, Jessica.
Thank you.
You have the floor.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Hurtado, and I'm a prosecutor in the Enforcement Division. I ask that you adopt the PFD as written and revoke Fang Funderburg's massage therapist license. Respondent has been licensed as a massage therapist since 2015. In March 2021, the respondent was placed on a deferred adjudication community supervision for the offense of prostitution. In July 2022, respondent renewed her massage therapist license, and at that time, the department learned of the respondent's prostitution offense. The department notified respondent that under the current law, because she was placed on a deferred adjudication for prostitution, she is no longer eligible to hold a massage therapist license. The respondent requested a hearing at SOA to contest the revocation of her license. The department filed a motion for summary disposition with SOA because there is no genuine issue as to any material fact, and the department is entitled to a decision in its favor. The respondent did not file a response to the department's motion. The ALJ issued a decision agreeing with the department and recommending revocation of respondent's license. This case involves the mandatory license denial and revocation provisions in Chapter 455 of the Occupations Code. Unlike other cases that have come before the Commission in the past, the respondent in this case has not established a record of good conduct since the commission of her prostitution offense. In fact, the respondent's offense occurred a little over 2 years ago and occurred while she was licensed as a massage therapist. I ask that you continue to consistently apply this law and revoke the respondent's massage therapist license and adopt the PFD as written. I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you,
Thank
Jessica.
you.
Any questions, commissioners? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Recommend adoption of PFD.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're going to item H, motions for rehearing. Doug Jennings? Is anybody here, Mr. Jennings?
Yes, sir. Our respondent is here.
Okay. Mr. Chavez?
Just have a seat.
How you doing, Mr. Chavez? We're going to hear from the general counsel first, then you. You'll have an opportunity to speak. Make sure you speak clearly and say your name and who you represent. Again, Mr. Chavez, this is about if we erred in any way in proceeding the case, not the case itself, an error of processing the case. You understand? Yes. Okay, great. Mr. Jennings, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Doug Jennings, Assistant General Counsel for the Department. This matter resulted from a default order in which the Department revoked the respondent's massage therapist license and assessed administrative penalties totaling $5,000 based on the respondent allegedly engaging in sexual contact during a massage therapy session with a client. The case arose when the Lakeway Police Department filed a complaint with TDLR stating that a criminal charge had been filed against the respondent for indecent assault. Just talking about the disposition of the criminal case, the respondent ultimately pleaded no contest to the offense of assault by physical contact, which is a Class C misdemeanor and which has no sexual elements to the crime. A Class C misdemeanor carries no jail time, although the offender may be fined up to $500. In this case, it does not appear that the respondent was fined at all. In his motion for rehearing, the respondent states that the accusations against him are false, but does not allege any other error, such as error of service. We have looked at service, and service was proper in this case. The NOAV was delivered to the respondent's address of record, as were the subsequent notice of default and default order. So we would recommend denial since there is no error.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Jennings? Okay, Mr. Chavez, again, to the process by which we handle the case. Again, not the case itself, but the process. Make sure we address those, okay?
Okay.
You have,
My name is Ildefonso Chavez. Sorry, I'm a little nervous, but I feel like there was no proper investigation in the whole case with what happened. They never checked the cameras. They never checked. There's a lot of things that were not in the statement that I left out. Certain things like how she says that she felt an erection.
again, the process, not the case itself. Did we bear on the side on how we process the case for you? Notification, other types of stuff.
I'm not sure if I what all that means.
Okay, so when we process a case, there's notifications, we have to let you know. Was there any way where you weren't notified or weren't aware of certain rights or anything like that?
Yeah, I was notified in a lot of things.
That's what this
Yeah.
motion is, to rehear the case because
Well,
we didn't proceed it properly. That's what you're asking
Yes.
on the commission to look at.
Yes.
That make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any comments about that? That's what I'm asking. Okay. Commissioner, do you have any questions? Yeah, you can engage me.
Have you said everything you need to say, Mr. Chavez? Is there anything? And don't be nervous. We're here to make sure that you're protected.
Yes.
So,
Well, like I already lost the case. I feel like I lost the case. I have a criminal record of it. I just don't want to lose my license. That's one thing that I'm worried about.
Any more questions, Commissioner? Mr. Jennings, anything else?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, I'll take a motion if you don't have any questions.
that's it, Mr. Chavez? Nothing else? I make a motion that we deny the motion for rehearing.
Okay. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Mr. Chavez, I want you to get with our staff, if you don't mind. They'll kind of explain to you, I know it can be complicated, and we're here to help you. They'll kind of walk you through what this motion was for, and if there's any other avenues that you have, they'll make sure that you're fully aware of that, okay? If you have any problems, you let us know, okay?
Okay.
That's important. Okay? All right, thank you, Mr. Chavez.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, we're going to item I. Ms. Pello, good morning to you.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, this is Della again. I had a little blurb. I'd like to introduce the rules a little bit, if you could.
Oh, yeah.
Be so
By the
generous
way,
as to give me a
Della,
couple minutes before.
Commissioners, I want you to know that Della's done a great job of trying to simplify things, so she's going to kind of go through this with us, and these are comments that were made during our meetings in College Station, so Della, go ahead.
All right, thank you, and I'll hand it back to you here in a second. But I just wanted to, for these more complex and kind of long rules, I wanted to give some context before the attorneys stepped up to give you kind of the facts of the case and all that. Again, in line with what you were asking for at the conference, kind of get the context and, any challenges that we had and stuff like that. So I've asked each of them to kind of beef up the executive summary document. I just want to make sure that you see this. And in the future, we're working on a plan to deliver this to you in a very interesting way that you can hopefully jump right from the agenda to the documents themselves. It's a work in progress, and I'm going to box myself in, but we should have it ready by the June meeting. So there you go. I've already nailed myself. But anyway, right now I just want to say the two rule packages that you're going to hear today are pretty complex. How much work was done into these? I just felt like it was necessary to give a shout out to Wendy and the rules coordinators and the whole division, the whole agency, because Chapter 60 rules, as you know, are our procedural rules for the whole agency, from licensing to how we handle complaints to every minutia of what we do here across programs. It's a heroic effort, and we've given it to you in some digestible bites. There's one chunk you've already adopted. This one she'll lay out for you, and then there's going to be one more coming. We've been needing to do this for many, many years, and Wendy just said, let me just do this, because I know she was frustrated with waiting, and so she did, and we're so grateful because they needed it to be updated and all of that. And then Mark will be next with the driver education and safety rules. Again, a heroic effort for all the divisions, GC, E&E, everybody that helped contribute that. It is it's a sunset initiative, so it's finally, we're at House Bill 1560 from last session, getting fully integrated into the rules. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that helped us do this, because they're not just GC's rules, they're the rules for the whole agency. So I will kick it back to you, Chairman, to let Wendy go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. All right, Wendy.
Good morning, Wendy Pello, Senior Assistant General Counsel. Agenda item I, or the Chapter 60 rules that Della was just talking about. These are the procedural rules of the Commission and the Department. They're implementing Chapter 51, which is our Enabling Act, but they're also implementing various statutes that apply to state agencies broadly. The rules that you have are updating multiple subchapters and sections, and as Della mentioned, this is part of a larger effort. This is the second group. The first group of rules, Chapter 60 rules, you adopted back in December, and Stella said we'll have one coming in the future. Not that you won't ever have Chapter 60 rules again, but in this effort to do a comprehensive overview and do it in groups of subchapters. Just so you know where these changes are coming from, it's substantive and they're cleanup changes, and they're coming from staff and strategic planning. Sessions that we've had in the past, they've come from the rule review efforts, the 4-year rule review that we're required to do under the Texas Government Code. And then there's also some pieces in here that are part of House Bill 1560, the Department's sunset legislation from last session. And so as you see, you've got 6 subchapters that are being amended in various degrees. Under Subchapter A, we're updating the terms and definitions. Subchapter F, updating that dishonored payment fee. Subchapter G is a simple adding a statutory reference regarding negotiated rulemaking. Subchapter H is where you get more significant changes, substantive changes, repealing an existing rule about complaints and making those 2 separate rules, and then adding additional rules that are reflecting and incorporating the changes made by House Bill 1560. Part of the sunset bill had amended some existing provisions about complaints in Chapter 51, but then added some additional provisions about complaints in terms of investigations, priority of complaints, and such. And so we've got additional rules there. And then under Subchapter I, the contested cases, this is an effort to update those existing rules so they reflect our current process and procedures, and then put the rules in procedural order. So it goes from notice of alleged violation or a notice of denial through to the appeal of a final order. So they're kind of in chronological procedural order. Just a couple of highlights there. We had updated the rule about proposals for a decision that are heard before the commission, just to make sure those reflect your current process and procedures, and then added a rule that reflects the current process and procedures related for motions for rehearing. So you'll see some significant changes there, and a lot of that is reorganization. A lot of it is just making sure it reflects our current process and procedures, so the public and the licensees are on notice of those processes. And then finally, under Subchapter J, mediation for contested cases. This is much more cleanup, adding some clarifications, adding some explanations about mediation, but more of a cleanup on this subchapter. And as Della mentioned, we worked with all the applicable divisions that were affected by the subchapters. In this particular group, a lot of these are enforcement related, so there was a lot of input from enforcement on many of these subchapters, but along with other divisions on certain provisions. In addition to working with staff, these rules were published in the Texas Register and open for public comment. They were published in the Texas Register on March 3rd, 2023, and that comment period closed April 3rd, 2023, and we received 1 comment during that time. The interested party commented on 3 of the proposed rules under Subchapter H was the complaint section. We didn't agree with those changes and didn't agree to make the changes they suggested, so no changes were made to the proposed rules based on the public comment. The department does have 1 small change to the proposed rules as they were published, and that's just to the title of Subchapter H. And so we are recommending that the commission adopt the Chapter 60 rules, the changes to the title Subchapter H with an effective date of June 1st, 2023. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Wendy. Any questions, Commissioners? All right, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you all.
Good job, Wendy.
Thank you.
Great job. Thanks, Stella, for the brief. Mr. Mark Ladney. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
Item J.
It's been a while, Mark.
It has been a while.
Where have they been hiding you?
I'm in the back room down there, just toiling away.
Where they keep the donuts or the cookies? Or
I guess in the meantime, I got a couple of new commissioners, so. Again, for the record, my name is Mark Gladney. I'm Assistant General Counsel for the Driver Education and Safety Program. And I'm here to present the rule package for the DES program. I'll refer to the Driver Education and Safety Program as DES for short. This proposed rule package under Chapter 84 of the Administrative Rules implements the House Bill 1560 that Dell had mentioned a few minutes ago. Article 5 deals with driver education specifically. And House Bill HB 1560 reorganizes and modernizes the DES program in Chapter 1001 of the Education Code in response to the findings from the last sunset review for the agency, and also input from our work group, which included division staff and members of the DES Advisory Board and the industry. It provides greater ease of entry into the DES marketplace for prospective license applicants, increases the freedom for providers and instructors to offer more targeted, individualized delivery of driving education and safety educational concepts to their students, and eliminates the unnecessary pre-approval program fees and some courses. This rulemaking is phase one of a two-part rulemaking that we have going in the DES program. The phase one project that you all are being asked to adopt today deals with elements that were necessary to be adopted effective June 1st. So we're going to be dealing with that today. Phase two deals with long-needed curriculum changes. So we'll be diving into those. That was more optional, but we've discovered that from the industry that there may be a need to try to simplify curriculum requirements for the industry to make it more palatable from a business standpoint for the providers, and then also help the instructors and ultimately the students, so that we can provide better public safety for everybody who's on the roads. As a result of the HB 1560 changes, staff conducted informational summits across the state like we did for BARCAS. We held 3 of them. We went to McAllen, Houston, and Dallas. We're actually holding one today as we speak. We just came out of one that was held upstairs, and then we're going to be doing another informational summit this afternoon. And I'm happy to say we had a couple of commissioners that showed up at a few of our summits, and we're very grateful for y'all to show up and say a few words to the industry folks. The concerns expressed most during the summits related to the legislative changes HB 1560 brought about. Mainly it was they were concerned about the repeal of certain pre-approval program fees. We used to have fees that were up around $15,000 for DES, AMI, or alternate method of instruction, the online courses. It used to be $15,000, then it came down to $9,750. Now they're eliminated by statute. And then also we deregulated certain courses like the specialized driving safety course, the drug, the DAP program, which is kind of the drug instruction program. We got rid of that, and then we also got rid of the driver safety course for adults under 25. The Sunset Commission felt that those were unnecessary courses, and they were repealed by HB 1560. We also got questions in the summit regarding a shift of program provider license information to the existing Versa database, not the new one that we're contemplating here, but the Versa one. And by switching these licensees to this particular database, it allows them to engage in more self-service. So they can renew their licenses a lot quicker. It helps internal staff to be more efficient in making sure those guys get their licenses as quickly as they possibly can once they've satisfied the requirements. Another thing that was raised was a new change that we are requiring DE providers to upload certain certificate data to the department, and the reason for that was to help DPS when a student comes into the DPS to get their final license, their provisional license. They would use the information that we get from the data upload to confirm that that student has actually taken that particular course. So it's just an extra layer of protection for the student and also to help DPS. There was also concern at the summit about easing entry requirements for driver education instructor applicants. But this is a license type that we were told they were aging out. We were losing instructors, and it was important to have those instructors. So HB 1560 made it easier for driver education instructors to actually get a license. And then basically increasing the number of hours of driver education training that a student can take per day. This helps provide more flexibility to the providers so that they can address more students and then change their schedules where need be if there was a student, canceling on them. They could bring in a different student and use their day more efficiently. So the summit answered these important questions to them, and we also dealt with a whole bunch more. And the marketplace, the licensing seemed to be pretty satisfied with the changes that came about with HB 1560. I'd also like to note that because of the modernization and the simplification that HB 1560 brought us, we were able to take the rule chapter down from 108 pages to, if you adopt it today, it's going to go down to 65 pages.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's huge. And with phase 2, we expect that we may be able to reduce and reorganize the chapter even lower than that.
Wow.
Yeah. The proposed rules were published in the Texas Register on February 10th. We received comments from 15 interested parties during the 30-day public comment period, which closed on March 13th. And then we presented the proposed rules to the Driver Training and Traffic Safety Advisory Committee on April 6th to discuss the comments that we got and the proposed rules. The Advisory Committee approved the rules with a couple of minor changes to Section 84.2, which is our definition section, and you'll find those in, let's see, page 39 and 40 of your packet. And then we also made a minor change to 84.51 dealing with the parent-taught program, and you'll find that on page 71. Basically, what we're asking for today is for the Commission to adopt the proposed rules under Chapter 84 with the changes I just mentioned with an effective date of June 1st of this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions?
I just want to make a comment for Commissioner Wesson. I got to attend one of those summits, and the department did an incredible job, all the staff. It was excellent, and I was fortunate enough to get to see that. And thank everybody in the department because it was well received.
I'd like to make a comment as well. I want to show my appreciation for Mike and the staff for listening to what our licensees have to say. They know firsthand what we could live without, what they could live without, right? And so to be able to cut these rules in half, I think is tremendous. I think we need to look at every program and see where we can do that. And the more we can take in from outside and make our processes better, the better off all Texans are going to be. And maybe it's cheaper to operate the agency. Maybe they can get some of those funds back in terms of lower licensing with fewer regulations and rules. So, Mr. Chairman, great job. Mr. Gladney, great job. Mike?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good job.
Yes,
Let the
sir.
staff know. Great job, guys.
We talked about it, at the summit, the roof's been half right there, and I said, I want to challenge you to get to a quarter or maybe 10%, so hopefully we're in the right path right there. But moving on, when is a phase 2 going to be effective, or what's your plan right now for phase 2?
We've actually had initial meetings on Phase 2 in the last 2 weeks, so we're getting ramped up. One of the issues associated with Phase 2 is, of course, we're going to need to bring in the work group, the curriculum work group, to work with us on that. But there's a lot that we're going to have to look at in Subchapter M and Subchapter N, and that's generally where a lot of the curriculum is. So I'm kind of hoping that we can come back to y'all with a rule package ready for adoption, either, I'm going to say probably early 2024. Yeah.
I think, most of the comments pertain to schools that they don't want the fee to be lowered. I think that's what the comment section, which is ironic right there, But in terms of folks saying that when invasion from California, each state probably, you may have land slides right there or snow compared to what we have on the northern part of Texas versus what on the southern, floods something. Is there an education program, something being catered towards when the word is gaming the online system or something? Is there something that changes in the driving DES package compared to, the entire state of California versus the state of Texas?
It's something that we discussed quite a number of times, but long before we got to this point. And there is some concern that we might get a flood because we got rid of some major fees here. It happened in California, and I believe it happened in Arizona. There were also some legislative changes that those states made to try to reduce that. One of the things that we're talking about is the idea if you have one owner that's bringing in, say, 40 clone courses, that owner on our search list, only the owning company would be listed, not each individual course. So it wouldn't really do them any good to have 50 clone courses because they're only going to be on our search list one time. And all that's randomized with various algorithms. So we may have found a way to combat it without necessarily going back to the legislature and saying, hey, we got this huge problem here.
Thank you.
Smart move. Anything else? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mark.
Thank
Great
you.
job. Great
Good to
job.
see y'all.
Good to see you.
That's why it's been so long, right? You've been cutting rules out. So when we see you again, it'll be down to 32.
Well, yeah, I've been with the agency since 2017, and I've had a rulemaking in this program, and then sometimes 2 in a year. Just slowly but surely reorganizing and bringing it down.
Great job.
So it was actually higher. Della, I think it was like 160 some odd pages.
When we first got the program, the rules came from different agencies, and it was about 150 pages at that time.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, item K, Mary. I think you both, all three of us are attending. Good job. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning, Mary.
So today, I have a shorter list than normal. As we proceed through the legislative session, we'll start some new things in some of these programs. First, for appointment, we have for your consideration for the Behavioral Analyst Board, Amy M. Wood. This appointment recommendation is for a public member for that Behavior Analyst Board who has had a relative who used services given by a behavior analyst. As you know, our chairman often solicits, please give us someone if you have someone. And this is someone who has had a family member treated by a behavior analyst who has applied for this public member position, and she is up for your consideration today. The rest of the appointments, and I can do these individually, I can do them all together, because this is the only appointment for a new member. The rest of the appointments for your consideration today are for presiding officers. As I said, go through this legislative process, we're going to start a new year. Presiding officers who are being reappointed are now going to continue their boards through the start of this new year. We kind of piggyback it. Once we get settled in from the changes from this session, if any, and how it affects the agency, we will again bring it before you for your reconsideration for these presiding officers. So for presiding officer reappointment for your consideration, we have Dr. William Gordon Borland for the Behavior Analysts Advisory Board. For Code Enforcement Officers Advisory Board, Ms. Teresa Adrian. The Combative Sports Advisory Board, Dr. Wayne Lee. Electrical Safety and Licensing Advisory Board, Mark Roach. Hearing Instrument Fitters and Dispensers Advisory Board, Mr. Lance Brooks. The Massage Therapy Advisory Board, David Lauderstein. Midwives Advisory Board, Laurie Fremgen. Motor Fuel Metering and Quality Advisory Board, Jason Harris. Motorcycle Safety Advisory Board, Keith Ravel. And Speech Language Pathologists and Audiologists Advisory Board, Sherry Sensibrian. Again, the applications you would have received in your packet would have only been for the newly up for consideration member of Miss Amy Wood, and I think that was around the 21st of last month. The rest of these folks have worked very successfully with these boards, and at the state we are with session and moving forward, it is just for reconsideration for them to, again, take another year and run those boards, so to speak, as they've been doing very well as presiding officers.
Okay. All right, commissioners, questions, comments?
I have a comment, Chair.
Go ahead.
I'm new. I think, I understand right now the presiding officers are reappointments, so are they current board members or soon?
Yes, they are.
And who's the current chair right now, or who's the presiding officer among, let's say, behavior analyst board?
They are all currently the presiding officers. We are reappointing them or seeking to reappoint them at this time for another year. That would take us to that even year where we don't have a legislative session. Then we'd have, so to speak, a year to sort of train them before we go, our new person, before we go into the next legislative session in that odd year.
You're an attorney, I want to ask you a simple question. I see on the package presiding officer reappointments. I don't know the background. I have no idea what it is. If you put some information, I can read, but I don't see anything right there. How am I supposed to make a decision? How are they attending in the past, or what's going on? Is there attorney-client privilege, some information? If you provide me that, hey, there are 4 meetings or some sort of a understanding, I have no idea what it is. Now you're explaining me that they're existing or current presiding officers, they want to be reappointed. I wasn't aware of that. And coming back on the new application, I think I saw the application up right there, but I don't see anything, am I supposed to look at that? Because I don't know the behavior and analyst position, whatever it entails right there. I can go and read something, but I didn't see any recommendation or something. Have you interviewed her, or how does it work? How does the process work?
So the recommendation comes in, of course, from the chair of the commission, and the statute does say recommendations from the chair of the commission with majority vote from the commissioners. When we review anybody's application for consideration for this position, we not only take an internal and external review. When I say that, we hit the media, social media. We do everything. We look at their backgrounds. In their application, you'll see their educational requirements, and you'll also see who has, if they have a reference. We also we have enforcement. Our enforcement will have any record of any sort of actions that we've had against them. And our regulatory program management staff is our boots on the ground staff for the agency. They know what's going on. Is there a, so to say, bad word? Even though that would be, as an attorney, I'm going to tell you hearsay. But that's something that we're not in a court of law. So these are things that we take into consideration before we bring them to you. We also take into consideration when I talk to Chairman Figueroa, he asked me all these questions. Let's go into the presiding officers. We do have, and I give to him before he makes the recommendation to you all, a percentage of the board meetings they have been present in. He asked me about their leadership and how the boards are doing and so forth. That vetting process, again, happens internally with my small staff, internally with the larger staff of TDLR, externally where we go and vet them in their own programs, so to speak, and any sort of social media that may be out there that would give us a hint of their activities and their professions and so forth. Then I take it to the chairman. I give him all of this information, and then in his ultimate decision, as per the statute, he brings those forward to you for consideration. But it is up to you.
If I understand right, you all been talking, Chair, correct? That's what it is? Okay. If you all been talking right there, the percent of attendance or, the social media, whatever is going on, no issue that, but the attendance and all, I'm not privy to that one. Okay, you're making a recommendation right now.
Hang on, Commissioner. You are privy. You're welcome to contact Mary anytime and go through any of the applications. Now, the statute states that I make the recommendation as chair to the commission. The commission doesn't make recommendations to the commission. I make, and you're allowed to review and contact Mary of any of the applications that are on there. Now, if you want the information prior, if you're asking that you would like to see something in a different process, totally appropriate. But as far as
That's what I'm.
Hang on, Commissioner. As far as process is, I make the recommendation to the commission. The due diligence that's done between Mary and myself. You're welcome to do the due diligence on those recommendations anytime. Now, if you'd like to see that a different way, a different path sooner, that's absolutely. If you would like to address that with Mary, that'd be great.
Chair, I thought last time when all those appointments were made, I didn't have any information. Okay? Any of the file pertaining to the background, whatever it is, this is critical right there because we are all the political appointees right there. Okay?
What's your question, Commissioner? I want to make sure I understand your question.
Well, I can't make an informed decision on this one.
What would you like to see?
I would like to see next time, if we are doing something, some background information on each of the candidates right there, or each of the officers. They've been serving pretty good, don't get me wrong.
Would you like the application to be submitted to you? Is that the full application? We can do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
the package, whatever you both been discussing, it would be good to be part of the reading material, so, we are all clear on the aspects of what
So
it
the
is.
question is, you'd like to see that application submitted to you prior to the meeting?
Chairman, the application
Sure.
was submitted, but it's only submitted in the packet that you receive on the 21st. Everyone does get that application. That was our process, and at some point, that application had not been submitted previously, and it was part of the process, and I'm a big SOP, everyone knows, like, my middle name is SOP. So we remedied that. With this one, we only had the one, and it's for a public member of a person who has received services from a behavior analyst. So we did include that. However, that's 10 days ago, so that it was in there, but it's just the one. For the presiding officers, because they were reappointments, their applications aren't new, we didn't send those in, they're just for reappointment. And I was, explaining just a little bit about how a reappointment for just a year here, which is what we're doing, would take us to that even year, carry us on, someone else can be trained to then become the presiding officer while we head towards that odd year for the legislative session. But of course, it is you all's vote and your decision, but I just wanted to make sure
Absolutely.
that everyone knew.
So I want to make sure the process that the commissioner is requesting is more data, more information about what's being presented to him. And so is that accurate to you?
Yeah.
I don't put words in.
Yeah, yeah.
You have, Commissioner?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I think part of it is, we'd like to be part of that data gathering phase. We may have information that's pertinent to you about somebody that you want to appoint to an advisory board, and it's probably too late once they're here before us. And so I think, for me, that would be important.
Well, it's never too late. To Commissioner Butler, right? So, if we screen these, there's 100, right? And so, and absolutely, you guys, or commissioners, are always welcome to contact Mary, especially if you have a recommendation or somebody particular that you would like
Please.
to put on these advisories. We'd love to have you. I've stated that hundreds of times. When we go through that, right, at my discretion to figure out who it is, you're welcome to, and I would encourage Mary to give that information to you. If there's a problem or a challenge or some data that you like more on a particular candidate for whatever reason, happy to do that. Absolutely, right. I think that's a very
Yeah,
pertinent
and that's what I mean about, we'd like to be part of that data gathering
Perfect.
phase, right?
I think, yeah, before it just comes in the
Before,
packet,
yeah.
you know, which we don't get
So
that.
the packet isn't enough time for you?
Right.
Okay. So what the commissioner's saying, the packet's not enough time for them,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd like to see it soon. Make
And
that happen.
that's
Maybe if we
fine.
could have the names at this commission meeting to be considered at the next commission meeting. That gives us 6 weeks.
And that would be great if we have those names at that time, just to,
You could
I
say
don't
these
want
are
to.
the names being
Yeah,
considered for these
because
boards.
I want your opinions. If you have some, and of course your opinions will then go to this man, and then he will make that final determination. But your input definitely would be greatly welcomed.
Does that seem reasonable to you? I don't know your processes. I don't know what kind of work. I don't want to make too much work for you.
Well,
But that
it's
seems
just
reasonable to me on this side of it. Does it seem reasonable to you on that side of it?
It's fine. This is the process that we used when our executive director was the chair of the commission. And so, because I've done this, I don't know, almost 10 years now. So we've we've operated on, let's say, the letter of the law that the statute says under his recommendation. So, forgive me, Chairman, but you're the heavy. So, you all.
Theoretically, not literally.
Of course not. Of course not. We've all lost those COVID pounds. So he's been the heavy, even though you're all the heavy. But all the information comes through, basically, we've utilized staff. I'll use another board. We don't have any recommendations today. Water well drillers. Hey, water well drillers out there. It's a very small yet important community. They're very interconnected. How many people do you know that do that sort of work? It's very technical, it's many families. So with RPM, they know those folks. They know who's out there. So I'm not sure, you all may have expertise in water well drilling. I don't know. You'll let me know. But we rely heavily because it's not my recommendation. We really take staff consideration. Has there been an enforcement case filed against them? Some programs, if you have one enforcement case, that would be odd based on the nature of what it is. But let's say you're a tow truck driver. You may have a lot of complaints that come in against you because people don't like their cars being towed. It doesn't mean that those complaints went forward, but those are things that I discussed with Chairman, I discussed with Mike before him. What's the nature of that program, and what are we looking at here? For this one appointment, for public members, they are few and far between that volunteer. They are very free services for this. Having virtual meetings, even though we do want to have some in person now, that we are allowed, it has been helpful for that. But having someone who has experienced the treatment of a behavior analyst in their family, that's fantastic when we get someone to apply for that position. But also, staff's not going to know anything about this public person. We will, because we do the deep dive into who they are, what they're about, so to speak. But it's not an exact science. It's a science of
Trial and effort?
it's trial and error, but it's also within those programs. What's going on in RPM? What's going on out there in the world? Because that's who Charlotte Melder's folks see these people. What's going on in enforcement? All of our enforcement folks see these people before our general counsels would ever get to see these people. So that's what we do internally.
Yeah, I think that's my point, is that we see these people too, out in the community, maybe in a way that you don't, and we may have information that I think doesn't comport with the values of this agency. and I'd like to make that aware sometimes.
So 2 points, right? One is that I am excited about you willing to participate in this process, okay? It's not, I'm more than excited. And I would be more than happy if you wanted to participate in the conversations that I have with Mary. Every commissioner here is welcome to have that conversation when it comes to the general screening, okay? Very excited about even post that conversation when those recommendations are made to the commission directly. You're welcome to input that. We'll get that information to you more timely. So Mary, you need to make sure that happens.
We will do
so
it.
that you can screen if you have some data points that need to be added to it, that on a screening process. On the other side, and I'm not sure how many have been recommended to them, I am almost more excited, and I can't use that word enough, if you have people to recommend, which we have, it's been a little bit of a silent. You've got people that you would like to recommend on these commissions, so engagement in this is fully vetted, fully open at all levels, right? And I just want to make sure the process is understood, goes through me, and I submit it to y'all, your approval, and it's appointed, right? So I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
I want to add, if I might, that we're here all day, every day, 5 days a week, right? And I have to unplug myself, frankly, because something beeps and I look at it, right? So, which I don't have a problem with. We want your input. The work that we do, it's work. You all have other jobs. So I don't want to bog you down, but Commissioner Butler, when you said, can we have those names? That may be a great starting point if you have other information on those names. And we can talk about a process that the commission would like to go through before the chair makes that recommendation. So we do go through that vetting process. These boards aren't new. For some boards, they're new boards. We get hundreds of applications. For others, we get 4. And so we may say no on those 4. An example, for the dog and cat breeders, we got an application for a hedgehog breeder. For driver education safety, we had folks apply for their license. We weed that out. There is no reason for you all to have to look at that. But definitely before this time, take a look, see those names. Happy to do it.
Absolutely. Excited. I'm excited about it. Yes, sir.
I want to understand the process right now on this. If for these boards, advisory boards, people approach you for, or the database or the existing folks in the boards, they recommend folks, is that how it works out? Or what's the process? Because I can't understand.
Oh, so the process is we practically beg for applications, not literally, but we do have applications that are online. When I started here, they were paper. So we actually have an online process. How do we get the word out? We get the word out through the chairman saying over and over again, please, if you have someone, please have them to, and Commissioner Wesson, you've done that. We just haven't had an opening yet for that consideration.
That's going to be a question.
Yeah, oh, I appreciate that, and that's still for consideration. There's just not a current opening in that position for us to consider that. But we do that. Because sometimes we have a big lull in applications, particularly for public member positions. So Tila Monge, our social media, actually she is our public information officer. We put out on our website, on our social medias, like, would you like to, help your profession? I'm not sure exactly how Tila words it, but for their consideration. One thing we've had to say over and over again is, you don't get paid for this. Thank you so much for your service. But you don't get reimbursed for this, which was harder because we want the whole state of Texas to be covered, but it's very hard if someone lives in El Paso to have them come here for a one-day meeting and so forth and so on, even though we've asked. And I thank so many of our members who have obliged and done so. So we get that word out through our social media, through I love our RPM division because they're out there presenting in front of different conferences. They give a shout out, so to speak. Do you want to be a part of that process? That boots on the ground. We get interest that people will just send us an email, hey, how do I apply for this? We send them a link to that application. I can honestly say I don't know any of these people, but that is how I've loved working with all of them, but that is how they come to us through that.
Mike, on this appointment stuff, what's the FTE count? How much time are we spending on these appointments?
Oh, wow. Because of the fact that we have 31 advisory boards and the applications that come in, we have a dedicated staff of 3 individuals plus Mary that are dedicated to just advisory boards, which means not only the application process, but working with each board, plus conducting the meeting, gathering the meeting, getting it all done. So there's a lot of work being done, so we have 3 FTEs dedicated to that. I say 3. Mary is also involved in it, but she also has the anti-trafficking unit that she kind of double times with it. And so if you're looking for the exact number of hours, we can get that stuff to you.
No.
Just so you know, we got 3 FTEs that do that.
Sure, on a policy basis, okay? We have some of our staff working to find the applicants, fill in these positions right there. And if you look at it, where we are sitting, someone else found us to be sitting right here. So state of Texas, or Texans are paying someone who is already getting paid to find people like us. And if you look at it, as we get more of this, hopefully the ledge gives us more folks to do what is our mission right there, licensing and regulation right there. Apart from conducting the meetings or something, that's needed some staff, don't get me wrong. But I personally of the view that this appointment business, we gotta kick it back to the governor's appointment office because they got dedicated staff. Let them do their work. It's free for us.
Commissioner
you know,
Druckstrom? So on a few of our boards, and I'm sorry for interrupting, they are by statute governor appointed. These boards are not. You will never have before you, for your consideration, a governor appointed board. That appointment staff, I work very closely with them. And they make those appointments, sight unseen by us, and then they inform us of who the governor has appointed. And we then my dedicated staff, we were paid to do this, then just do all the legwork.
Mary, I understand the process. I think this is a policy issue, what I'm trying to talk to.
Oh, okay.
The chair right there.
Okay, so let's put that on the agenda. That's a different topic than what you asked for the process. Be happy to put that on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments?
I just got a question on, so is the normal procedure, like, probably, what, half of them, you'd love to have more people apply?
Probably.
When they do apply, do the current advisory board members, do they get asked, do you want to be on this again? Or how
They do.
do new positions open up if the same people that are already on one say, sure, I want to do it again, I want to do it again?
So that also depends, Commissioner Wesson. Say we have something new coming up on the horizon from the ledge. We have some folks who have been members, who were members before, and they may have an interest. But we're always on the lookout, and Delia, Angelica, and Anna, my current staff who do this, they each take about 10 boards apiece that they specialize on. And what are the applications that are coming in? So even if we have someone who has been on a board, if someone else comes up for consideration, say they are very active in their associations, and we can tell from their applications that they're up on the current laws and rules and so forth, and this would be great for the board. Again, I meet with the chairman, I say, hey, sir, we have Joe Smith, he's been a good and faithful member, but we have John Brown, who's coming up, and he's active in this association related to that. He knows the laws and so on and forth. This is for your consideration. I've checked with our internal staff, and they say he's great. He's spoken at this and that, and he's up on the new laws and standards and what's going on in the real world outside of these walls. He makes that call, and he says, Mary, let's do it. And I say, yes, sir. And we thank John Smith for his service. I think we give him a little certificate because we really do appreciate them. And then we will have a new member. So it just depends on what's going on. I know I keep harping on the ledge, but that's very, very important, what's going on there. And then say if something new is coming up within Texas as a whole, cosmetology comes to mind because that was a total reconfiguration, but that was a legislative move as well. Those are things that my staff, myself, I'm a lawyer, we take into consideration, we look at the laws, and can this new blood be, that configuration of those boards is really good. You know, and I work with the appointments office. We actually ended up at the same Christmas party at the governor's mansion talking about this kind of thing. So, I'm sorry, Mike.
I was going to say, Chairman, Commissioners, I think that out of this, what we're getting is two things. One of them on the reappointments, and Commissioner Drucker, you bring up a great point, because I looked on the commission right now, we've got pretty much 3 new members, and I think what we need to do is whenever we give you the presiding officer reappointments, we now need to include the application, because some of you had not even seen this individual. So I think that's a great thing. We'll start putting that in there. It's a great point. The other one is on the process that we're doing. I would say that, working with Mary and the chair, of course, because we're still trying to follow statute, we still want to get everybody involved. I would just simply remind you to make sure you're talking to Mary and not to each other, because we may have a walking quorum issue that we got to be concerned about all the time. So yeah, I think that Mary and her group are totally open to providing the information that you want, giving you the information. We're working on that process. We were hoping to get it implemented by this meeting, but we did not. But we're hoping that maybe the next meeting we can figure out a way that you can get those applications ahead of time, consider it, whether it's decided to say these are the applications for the next meeting, however we want to do that. But those are some of the things that we're looking at coming back with a new process. And so just know that that's coming in. The other point about the governor's office, we have been, and I can tell you this has been ongoing for years, talking with the governor's office and saying, if you've got an individual that you can't find a spot on a governor-appointed board, let us know who they are. We would love to put them on one of our boards and kind of be a little testing ground for you. We'll report back to you, tell you about their participation, their attendance, their involvement, those type of things, and we'd be more than happy to pass that on to you. And so we have had this conversation with the appointments office for several years. And when I'm talking about several years, it's been ongoing for a long time. And so there are, of course, as we mentioned, we have, I believe, 2 boards, IHB and podiatry, that are appointed by the governor's office, and that's totally separate of what we do. And so this has been an ongoing, and again, I'm kind of like the chairman, I'm excited that we're having this conversation, because this has been an ongoing struggle for the agency and this advisory board area to get the involvement, to get the names of other individuals that you know personally, that you say, you know what, this person would be great. They don't know anything about behavior analysts, but they want to serve as a public member. We can put them on weather modification. And so they can help us out in that respect. With SB 1560, the ability for us to have meetings virtually has really helped out. It's kind of expanded our pool. And so those are some of the things that I want to mention to you and bring out. I don't want to continue to let this stretch out, but I do want to let you know that we've heard what you're saying. I think the easiest one of the reappointments is provide the application. When will we give you the reappointment information?
Chair, if I may say something. I echo what Mike is saying, we want, the reason why, I think, if we need to bring it up next board meeting, I don't know if it's an internal operating procedure, we need to put anything to, I just want to point it out to the governor's office, so let them deal with that, and they report back to you on the appointments.
And I appreciate that, and I think it's a great policy idea. We'll let the commission debate that, but I want to make sure you guys get this information. There seems to be a vacuum in that. Also, I want to enforce or remind you guys that Christine sent out an information about your liaison to each of these boards, or these advisory committee, various locations, right? If there's one in particular, it's very difficult because I can only have 3 of y'all, right? If I get 4, it becomes a quorum. So if there's one in particular, I try to acquiesce to everybody's main recommendation. I know Dr. Callis said these were my number 1, but we want to make sure your expertise falls in one, yours engineering, whatever it is. So those are great insights to how these boards function and why they're important in regards to rules and procedures. So if there's something particular board that you want, that's even better. So you're not taking Mary's word for it. You're showing up to the meetings and seeing who's participating, who's not, how things are functioning well or not. So you're welcome to do that. And like I said, you're welcome to participate. I just don't want 4 commissioners in one meeting because of the quorum issue. So as long as you let Christine know, I don't think we have a rush to these advisory board meetings. I'm not sure there's not a rush, but if there would become an issue, that would be the only one. Any other issues on this before we move on?
One last thing, I think, Mike brought out a point about commissioners giving the names or something. I think we can give the names or something. If I give a name and Commissioner Butler doesn't, he thinks my nominee gets picked over because I'm good to whoever it is picking up or something. I think we'll debate it the next time on this aspect of what we got to do.
Sure. I just wanted to ask Mike, you referenced a walking quorum. What did you mean?
What I'm talking about is in the event that there are individuals that you want to select, and maybe they're pretty well known by everybody, and then if we have a commissioner say, hey, Commissioner A, what do you think about so-and-so? I like them. Commissioner B, what do you think about so-and-so? I like them. And so Commissioner C, the moment you say Commissioner C, you've hit 4 people. And so those are the type of things that we gotta be careful of, because in doing the board appointments, it's easier to simply contact Mary and her group and say, this is the person I'm looking at, and you get that information out, so to ensure that there's not a conversation going back and forth about one particular applicant that we're considering on advisory boards.
Okay, good. Okay. I didn't know exactly what you meant by that. Okay. Wanted to clear that up.
Great discussion. Love it. I'm excited about it. Anything else? Okay.
So this is Della Lindquist. Are you going to postpone then this agenda item till next time?
No, we're asking a motion. Doug.
Okay.
Hang on, stand by. Any other comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
No.
No. Roll call vote. Christine?
Okay. Dr. Callis, yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Maureen Hyde, yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Butler, no.
No.
Just one.
Commissioner Wesson,
He said yes 3 times.
no.
No.
Commissioner Rutherford, no.
No. I'm a yes.
Chairman, yes.
Yes.
So we have
A push. So, okay, so,
Chair, can I suggest an alternative?
yes, go ahead.
Can we table it for next meeting, so we'll, once we get the data?
Fine. You want, is there a motion?
That's my
Are
motion.
you making a motion? What's your motion?
My motion is to table this pending the information for the next meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Gary seconded.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed? We already had a motion and it passed, and now you have to recall that vote, because we've already.
It didn't pass, it was 3-3.
Means it's no motion, right?
The motion was 3-3. Us three
Well,
was,
He doesn't need, okay.
that motion didn't, that first
He
motion
doesn't need a
didn't.
motion, right.
That motion, so you're moving to table the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I think, just real quickly, the failure for the motion to pass means that this item is just kind of sitting out there.
Right.
So we can simply put it on the next.
That's what, you
That's
want.
what I was saying.
Okay.
So, yeah, so
it
I'm
just
not-
votes.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I said if it tied.
Yeah, it just ties, okay. So we'll table the motion for next meeting, okay? All right,
Okay,
Mary, thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
All right, item number L, executive reports. Mike?
Chairman Commissioner Mike Harris-Smith is Executive Director. Before we do anything, I do want to thank our DPS security for being here. They've taken time out, and so we have security that's throughout the agency, and throughout this building. So I can tell you right now, this is the most secure place, other than probably the governor's mansion, to be at right now. So we do appreciate them being here. There's a lot of things happening. Kind of want to start off with the legislative update. As you know, in the middle of legislative session right now, we have a lot of things moving. I have mentioned to you through my executive director update, the veterinarian bill that's going through. That one seems to be progressing nicely. And last week, I had a meeting with the executive director of the vet board. Her name is Brittany Sharkey, and we had a discussion, kind of start the preliminary talks about what that looks like. Once we move into that area, once it's signed. We're waiting for the vote to pass, all the votes to be counted. We're waiting for the governor's signature to dry before we actually start the process of moving into what that looks like beginning September 1. So that's happening. We also have the EV charging station bill. That is moving to progressing nicely. I think that SB 1001, which is sponsored by Senator Schwartner, has passed out of the Senate, passed out of the House, and it's now set, I think, in calendars, if I'm not mistaken, which means that it's progressing nicely. We expect that to go through as well. We have a lot of health-related bills that are going through. Concerning dietitians, there have been some new bills that have been filed that have passed the House. One is genetic counselors, another is music therapists, which they passed the House and not on their way over to the Senate. So we'll see what happens with that. We have a great team in our compliance division that is tracking those bills. And so as we begin to progress more, you'll get that information sent out to you. Of course, the biggest one that we have is the budget. HB 1 passed out of the House, went over to the Senate. The Senate immediately substituted with what they call SB1, which is the Senate version of the budget bill. Sent it back, they did not concur, so they're now in conference committee. And so that is going through. In that budget bill, of course, we have the $32.9 million for our comprehensive licensing system. That was included in both bills, which is a positive sign for us in that respect. So we're looking forward to moving with that. Of course, in the budget also, it includes a 10% raise over the biennium, 5% beginning in the September 1 fiscal year, and another 5% September 1 of '24 to include the entire 10%. There was a supplemental bill that was filed, SB 30, and SB 30 has in it a 5% raise beginning for all state agency employees beginning July 1. So if that passes, then you can see that the September 1 raise that all of our state employees are looking at would actually be supplemented up to July 1. So they would get 2 months in this current fiscal year, and then of course the 5% would already be in place beginning September 1. So we're tracking that. That seems to be a non-controversial issue. There's not a lot of discussion being held with it. I believe that the legislators know that, you know, state employees working hard, that they need some type of compensation. The market here in Austin particularly, but throughout the state of Texas, as we begin to grow, is really putting a lot of demand and strain on the workforce. So we're hoping that this will at least be able to provide a little bit. The budget also includes $5 million additional for FCIC. FCIC has been a gem for us to be able to have. At this point in time, $101 million that has been done through the financial fraud at FCIC. So that has been very helpful for them. So the $5 million will come into their next biennium, which they're looking for. We also have some changes in the motorcycle. The way that we do the motorcycle funding is a part of the bill that we're looking at as well, and changing that so that we can actually expand the number of instructors throughout the state of Texas, as opposed to just working through the Texas A&M Extension Agency, but it'll be instructors throughout the state of Texas. So it's another one that we're looking for. And also, we got money in our fleet. And so, as you know, whenever we took over the motor fuels, we ended up getting some fleet from the Texas Department of Agriculture, and we got some fleet from DPS, but a majority of our vehicles came from TDA, and the fleet that we received from them were either over 10 years old and or over 150,000 miles. So we have since had vehicles break down on our employees as they're out and about. We ended up having to bring one back from, I believe it was Marshall. We had to truck it back into the office. So we ended up having to get a trailer, and it went through this whole ordeal. So we ended up putting in our budget a request for additional monies. They've actually moved that request that we had for about $440,000. I believe there's $150,000 still sitting out there. We're trying to figure out if that's correct. So we're looking at $590 total, but $440 is in the supplemental bill. So if that passes, then we'll have access to that money beginning the moment that it's signed, so that we can begin to start looking at additional fleet replacement fleet. In this current biennium, we received some monies, and we have vehicles on order right now that should be coming in. We've already received a couple of them, but we have more vehicles coming in, and then this is on top of what we have right now. We're moving to try to have a fleet for our investigators, inspectors that are located throughout the state of Texas, as well as having fleet here in Austin that'll be used. So that's a big part of what we're looking at.
Mike, if I may?
Yes.
You brought somebody over from DPS, didn't you, when we got some of their fleet to help try to manage that? Is there kind of a lifetime expectancy where you start rotating some of these older vehicles out, so you don't have our people stuck in the middle of the country somewhere?
Correct. And I'm going to let him kind of add a little bit more to it, but as he's thinking about what he's going to say, we did bring some people over from DPS and from TDA. The people we brought from those agencies were actually program people and not fleet people.
Okay.
And so, but they were program people within the motor fuels program or in the driver's education.
Okay.
Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to let him again tell you a little bit more about the aging of the fleet vehicles and what that is in the state of Texas.
Mike, one question, Chair, before, on the fleet budget, is it ARPA money or?
That's a great point. Yes, the one thing that they did, of course, we talked about the $200 million that the state of Texas had allocated for that cybersecurity. They pulled that back in, and now they're taking that ARPA money and they're divvying it back out. And the $440,000 that we received in this money is the ARPA money that we have, that's correct.
Commissioner Butler, we're requesting funds to replace 12 vehicles, and so the threshold on that would be 10 years or 150,000 miles. These vehicles have exceeded that lifespan and even those maintenance levels. So it's a lot cheaper for us to replace them at this juncture than to even repair the ones that we have. But the state does have an expectation that these vehicles be cycled in, cycled out, and that we do keep up with, we do have the newest, best vehicles at our disposal than trying to keep these in life support. As Mike mentioned, the ones that we acquired from DPS and TDA, they're quite old. We've had many break down. I think we were down to one pickup truck as a backup, and we are close to rotating it out into the field. And just a month ago, we received 3 new Dodge Ram 1500 pickup trucks. So there is a limit to it, and every 2 years we look at our fleet, we size it up, and we make a request to replace these vehicles every 2 years.
I can tell you a little bit more, is that the vehicles that we've had breakdown is transmissions going out. We had one that the brakes failed, and so, I mean, they're just aging vehicles that we need to get out of service.
The question is simple. We buy a vehicle, that's what it's planned, right? Is it appropriate to buy or lease them? Because what's the expectations in 5 to 10 years, you got to scrape them, I think, So is it a good policy to lease them? Are you all looking into those aspects?
We have, as a matter of fact, we had that conversation internally about the lease versus purchase. And I think there was some provision in there, or the way that it was worded on how we look at that. I can tell you the issue we're having right now, Commissioner Drugstrong, is supply. I mean, we're having a really tough time even getting anything. We can put it on order, but it's taking forever for us to get it. So, but the conversation of lease or purchase has been a conversation piece. Some of it just has to do with the wording that is within the statute and the wording that we have in our budget, LAR. I'm not sure, we did have that conversation, but we ended up just moving to the purchase of that. And that's where we're at right now.
Well, in future, down the line, I think we need to look in because, the resale value probably would be not much right there. So is it appropriate to use, the funds probably to lease, knowing that in 5 years or something, they are gone right there? So I think that's for future consideration.
Yeah, and I can tell you, yeah, we did have that conversation.
All right.
But and just so you know also that, you said sell them. The state doesn't allow us to sell them, we have to surplus them, which means that we give them to a surplus and then they turn around and get rid of them. So we don't see anything. We spend the money, but we don't get anything back. They simply give us more money to buy or lease, whichever one. So the next item on the agenda I want to talk about is our DES Summit, the Driver's Education Summit. As you know, we talked about, as Mark came up and talked about the rules, being kind of the end of phase 1 with the adoption of these rules. We've had some really great turnout. I was down in the Valley and had the DES Summit down there. Christina Kaiser went to Houston, had a great turnout there. I believe a couple of commissioners showed up for the one in Houston. Jessica went to the one in Dallas, and so had a great turnout there. We're holding the very last summit today. We had it upstairs. Ray Pizarro and his group have been outstanding in providing the information. This is all coming out of the Education Examination Division. They've done a great job, as I mentioned earlier, for the work that they've done and being able to provide that information. It's more of an informational base. We're telling you this is what's going to happen, so you're aware of it. We have some really good suggestions come out of it. We have some people and some licensees that are not happy with the changes, and we understand that. And so we're simply being able to provide the information saying this is what's come out of our sunset bill, SB 1560. This is what we have to deal with. And so just getting that out to them. The last one we have will be this afternoon, which will be the virtual session. So it'll be online. I believe we're going to have it in here. So that'll be the last session that we have of being able to get that information out. And so that's been a big part of what our agency's been working on, especially with education examinations, some of the other people that have gone with them. You have in your packet of information the agency reports and statistics. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have on that. I mean, it's included in every single division. And so I don't know if you've got questions on it. We'll be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions on that?
It looked like calls have been going up. Is that still happening?
Yes, sir. The calls have been increasing in our customer service division due to a backlog that we're having in getting applications processed and coming out of financial service into our licensing division and getting those applications processed. And so that has been a topic of conversation we've had within the last 2 to 3 weeks, especially, actually probably the last month or so, of figuring out how we can handle that. And as you know, if somebody calls in, which is a part of what we discussed earlier, but if somebody calls in looking for the application, right now we're simply recording the call. But if they don't get the application tomorrow, they're gonna call again. And they keep calling, so the call volume begins to increase as their application is backlogged. And so that is an area that we know needs to be taken care of, and that's an area that.
Do they get a call back pretty quick? Do they leave messages? I guess there's a lot of it.
Yeah, I think
Go
a
to
couple of things
voicemail.
happen. One of them is that they'll get somebody right away, and then some of them are on hold, which unfortunately causes a lot of hold time for folks, which is also a problem.
Yeah,
And then,
but they can leave a message, and we have a call back that happens fairly quick.
I'm
within
not
a
sure if
few
they can
days.
leave messages or not. I'd have to find that out for you.
I laughed. I had a deal. I had called TWC and had it, used their number, and they didn't even let you leave a message. And they said, we're having a lot of call back
Call back
another
later.
time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't like hearing that from the customer side.
Yeah, I'll find out. I'm sure that my Chief Process Improvement Officer, Kenny Wright, is listening right now, and he'll be able to tell me if we do that. And I know we also have the recent accomplishments that Kaiser's going to be able to kind of bring you up to date on, and by that time, I should be able to have some information back to you.
Commissioner Tucker.
Mike, looking back at the inspections, the report, it dates back to February. Was there a reason? Is it half yearly, or what's that? 9/1 year-to-date total inspections total on EAC. Till February, we had about, 5,500 approximately. So it looks like staff is going and inspecting a lot more than in the past, because the FY '22 is about 6,500, so
Right.
more than half, probably anticipating about close to 11,000 maybe.
Yeah, and,
Commissioner?
yeah, as we say, our senior deputy can answer that question for you.
Good morning, Commissioner Drogsharam. Christina Kaiser, Senior Deputy Executive Director. The time period for the data shown in the report is fiscal year '23 through the end of February, as compared with fiscal year '22 for the same time period. So it's only fiscal year through end of February for both years shown.
So it's not the total.
Correct. FY '22 is not the full fiscal year there.
Confused. Thank you.
A pleasure.
Maybe next time, can you put a separate graph right there to show the same colors? Year to total, I was thinking that's a year to total FY '22.
Right.
Hang on, all right, Commissioner Butler, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Just a couple things to be aware of. I understand that combative sports, people that participate in them can't use their credit cards to pay their fees on the website. If we could maybe address that. They have to bring in a check or something on the day of the fight. It seems pretty old school, but I can tell you I've heard some complaints, and so I want to bring that to your attention. I'm sure you're aware of this.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
and I tell you, the ironic thing is, a lot of people don't know this, but about 53% of the applications that we receive in this agency is paper-based.
Mhm.
And that's across the agency. So you think about the fact that we have 893 applications.
Yeah.
53% of that are paper-based. So we're very heavy, intensive on labor.
Mhm.
That is the other reason that this licensing system is so crucial for us, to move everything online.
Sure.
For us to try to move, as an example, combative sports would require a change in our system, which means that we're either going to have to, I believe it's a reversa system, so we would end up having to pay for that
Understand.
to get done.
Yeah.
And so and I agree, and, for those combative sports participants that we have, I feel your pain, because we're having this pain not only in combative sports, but in other programs throughout the agency of paper applications,
Yeah.
and actually have to bring in the check. Some things they can do online and pay for.
Yeah.
So,
I just wanted to bring it to your attention because it was brought to mind.
Right.
The other thing is kind of a big picture thing is we allow referees from other states to come referee our fights through a system of reciprocity. My understanding is that other states really don't allow Texan referees to referee their fights. So it's kind of kind of a one-way street, and so we'll never elevate our referees to that status of, Showtime type fights. Just what I'm hearing. Wanted to make you aware of it.
Right.
Don't know the validity of it. I just wanted you to say, I just wanted to say, I hear something once, okay, I hear something twice, I just want to make you aware of it.
Well, and that's a great point. I think that one of the things that it may be an individual that hasn't moved up the ranks, but I can tell you right now, I know 2 individuals in Texas that are Texas-based. Kerry Hatley, who's based out of Lubbock, and then Jake Montalvo, who's based out in Brownsville, that are used worldwide by UFC. As a matter of fact, I know, as an example, Kerry is going to be going to Tokyo, Japan with UFC because he was asked to do it. So what happens is that the promoters normally have the individuals that they use. And so I know that we have some Texas-based judges and officials that will go to other states to participate because they're asked for by either UFC or the WBC, WBA, whatever. So they're asked by, I'm sorry, WBO. So they're asked by other promoters to be able to use it, sanctioning bodies for that. So, of course, we want a whole lot more coming out of Texas. And so there is a group of individuals in the state of Texas. As a matter of fact, in boxing, we have Lawrence Cole. It's up in the Dallas area. He goes all over and does boxing matches. So, yeah, so we do have those and participating, and it is more of come in, license, and, and pay your fee and go from there.
Just want to make sure we're being treated fairly, that's all.
Yeah.
I echo what Commissioner Butler found right there. I understand, the referee issue is that they were complaining that they can't do that, say Nevada or California or New York don't allow it. So if we are being reciprocal, what is that?
It's a reciprocity?
Yeah. So, we need to expect the same thing. If some of the states don't allow our guys to go and do it, we got to put something, or, we got to have at least a discussion on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I know we got this on, but I want to make sure we address it, but let's wrap this up real
Yeah,
quick, Mike.
not a problem. And I think that the thing is that if they are being asked by the sanctioning body, that's between the sanctioning body and the referee and the judge to do. And like I said, I know that we have individuals that go out of Texas and go to Nevada, California, New York. They've gone, worldwide in different countries, and they're coming right out of Texas. So I'm not sure what the complaint is, because if they're not moving up with that sanctioned body, then they may need just additional training. They may need just to find out what's going on, those type of things. So, but they're happening. It's happening.
Commissioner, you got any different
I
question?
just, yeah, this
Say
is.
on the fee right there, I understand that this was a common, some of them complained about it. If it costs extra right there, they can probably, I think you're allowed to charge whatever the charging fees, right? If I would request that credit card processing be allowed for the boxers with whatever the additional fees got to be tagged on.
Yeah, and I think, again, and I'm kind of considering this to be the agency reports and stuff that I'm providing to you under the agenda item.
Yeah,
But
we're on the fringe of that right now.
Yeah,
So I need
and
to
so,
wrap this up.
yeah, and so that is, there are certain things that we can waive, and there are some things that we cannot.
Okay.
We just
Chair,
cannot do
can we
it.
talk about the future? Sorry.
So,
Let me
we can
finish.
do that.
Sorry.
Thank you. Anything else in regards to the executive report?
We do have the recent accomplishments that our senior deputy will provide to you right quick.
Go ahead.
Good morning again, Christina Kaiser, Senior Deputy Executive Director. I have the pleasure today of introducing our new Chief Information Security Officer for TDLR. Please join me in welcoming Josh Kuntz, who joined us on April 3rd. Josh came to us from the Workforce Commission, where he served as that agency's CISO for 4 years. His previous information security experience included the Department of Motor Vehicles, where he served for 7 years, and the Juvenile Justice Department for 3 years. Interesting point about Josh, in his earlier life, he served as the Senior Satellite Specialist for the Department of Public Safety. And in that role, he operated and maintained a statewide satellite communications system and supported users statewide. So a wealth of experience. And if his name sounds familiar, it is the Kuntz that you're thinking of. Bill Kuntz was his father.
Welcome.
Josh
Welcome.
is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps.
Can you show me how to work my program on my TV? Apple TV, I don't know what that means.
And
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman, that's all we have.
Is that
Thank
it?
you.
Excellent.
I have a question, Chair.
It's got to be on the agenda, but go ahead.
Yes, sir. On the human resource operations. We have 564.2 FTEs, that's on the
That's our
list right
cap,
there.
yes, sir.
That's a cap. We have employees and staff 490. I understand that the budget, we are authorized to, what is it, 500 or 490? What's our FTE budgeted amount?
Yeah, we, of course, it's a great point, Commissioner. Our cap is 564.2. We only have monies to pay for, I think it's around 508.
Okay.
We don't have anything more above that. So,
The question I'm asking is, if our limit is only 508 or something, it shows that when we have about 73 job postings right now. So where are they coming from? Are we trying to get to the 564 level with a 73, or what's?
no, we're not, we cannot reach the 564 level. We just don't have the money for it.
Yeah.
And so the applications, or the postings that we have out there are for the current opening jobs that we have, that we know that we can pay for. And so.
So in that case, if I understand it, because the math right there, looking at it, so our FTE should be 420 or 418 or something, is that's what, approximately?
No, if I remember correctly, and I'll get with Sharon on this, but I think that we have the ability to pay for about 508, maybe about 508, I think is what we've always kind of said.
Some of the numbers right here, they're not jiving up. I'm getting confused right there. Are we posting something even though we don't have budget or something? That's what I was confused.
No, we don't post anything that we're not budgeted for.
Mike, I can help. Some of those are promotions. Sure.
Thank you. Not new job postings.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to go, Mike.
But understand is that even with the promotion, we'll have an opening. So the opening still exists, no matter what. Even through a promotion, we still have an opening because that person moving up, it still has availability on that, so.
And Commissioner, we also have lapsed salaries and positions. And
Yeah.
we have a rotating turnover, for lack of better terms. You know, we expect so much of a rate, and so we do have those monies available to fill for the next vacant positions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, sir. That's it. Thank you.
Commissioners, you good? Good? All right. I think that's it for items. Anything else that I'm missing? Christina?
No.
Excellent. We got June 20.
If I allow.
Hang on, go ahead. Hang on, give me a second. All right, June, before you make a comment, July, and I'm gonna make sure, July 27th is the next meeting?
June.
June, I apologize, June 27th. Let me know if there's a problem with that. I know there's a lot of things going on in the legislature, so if you want to have conversation with the staff, they're more than willing to sit down with you and converse with you directly, one-on-one. I know it's tight with the commission meeting, we gotta stay to the agenda. Yes, sir, Commissioner.
Okay. On the complaints right there, I think we are at 56% or something in the enforcement. Is that number ring a bell?
Are you talking about resolutions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are we, based on the legislative, we're supposed to be at 65 or something? Is that a fair number?
This is Christina Kaiser, Senior Deputy Executive Director. We do have a projection for each performance measure that we measure ourselves against each year. I'll be happy to get those to you. I don't have them in front of me.
I saw somewhere in the report right there, so maybe, okay.
We'd be happy to get it to you. Okay? Any questions? That's it? All right, I'll entertain a motion for adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Chair, one question. I thought we were
There's
going
hang on. There's a motion. Is there a second? Okay, second? So the motion dies in a second.
Second.
Thank you. All right. Do you have a quick question?
Yes, agenda for future items. That's what I thought we were going to talk about, some of the items, what we talked, so that we can discuss more debate right there. I thought we were going to
No,
go more.
there's nothing on that.
Which one?
On that future items, I've got nothing.
So are you going to add, we send it to you, you're going to
You
add?
can add it for future agenda.
Okay, so we don't need to talk about it right now?
No.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I got a motion, second. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, Commissioners.